That guy right over there is Brady Quinn. I'm Jonas Knox. In for Clay Travis. This is Outkick the coverage here on Fox Sports Radio. You can hang out with us on the iHeartRadio app. You can find us on hundreds of Fox Sports Radio affiliates. But wherever you are taking part in this program, we appreciate you making us a part of your Tuesday morning. I believe it's Tuesday morning. I have no idea. It feels like a blur.
Pretty sure it's Tuesday.
Yeah, it's Tuesday morning here, and we appreciate you hanging out with us. We're going to take you all the way up until 9 a.m. Eastern Time, 6 o'clock Pacific, right here on Fox Sports Radio. If you missed the first hour of the program, we'll sum it up like this. We talked to Albert Breer about the Julio Jones situation, and Brady Quinn's neighbor had a raccoon crap in his pool. I feel like we got a lot done. I got to be honest with you. I feel like we got a lot done.
Are you one of the types of people that likes to have like a checklist of things you want to accomplish during the day?
It depends. If I have a lot going on that I need to get done, it helps me stay a little bit more organized. But for the most part, I kind of generally know what's happening.
I love creating like a list, checking things off the list. Like big on that. And I feel like so far we're making a lot of headway this morning. I'm telling you right now. I feel really good with where we're at.
I do too. I know, you're all about that schedule and wanting to know, what's coming next and all that. And, where do you want to go next? All that. Like, I'm more of a, fly by the seat of my pants type of guy. But again, not everybody's day.
Well, that's when you're wearing pants, though. Yeah. Which is not very often. So.
Yeah, that is a good point. But again, some people are built differently. You know that. I mean, that's just, some people are just built for this, Brady Quinn. All right. So Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers, the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, one of the all-time great quarterback talents in the history of the NFL. He appeared on Kenny Mayne's final episode of SportsCenter on ESPN. Kenny Mayne and him have a relationship, obviously, a very friendly relationship, and Kenny Mayne asked Aaron Rodgers about the situation in Green Bay, and here's what the quarterback had to say.
It never been about the draft picking Jordan. I love Jordan. He's a great kid. He a lot of fun to work together. I love the coaching staff, love my teammates. I love the fan base in Green Bay. It's incredible 16 years. It's just kind of about a philosophy, and maybe forgetting that it is about the people that make the thing go. It's about character. It's about culture. It's about doing things the right way. And a lot of this was put in motion last year, and the wrench was just kind of thrown into it when I won MVP and played the way I played last year. So this is just kind of, I think, the spill out of all that. But look, man, it is about the people, and that's the most important thing. Green Bay has always been about the people, from Curly Lambeau being owner and founder to the 60s with Lombardi and Bart Starr and all those incredible names, to the 90s teams with Coach Holmgren and Favre and the Minister of Defense, to the run that we've been on. It's about the people.
Yeah. And why do you live in California in the off season? But again, I'm not here to judge, Brady. That's not like I'm not here to judge.
Where Green Bay, Wisconsin happens to be, and given their climate, versus in the off season, those are two separate conversations. That has nothing to do with the people there in Green Bay.
I'm kidding.
All right.
Yeah, I'm kidding. Yeah. I've heard it's a very strong fan base. I've heard that the Packer fan base is.
You still haven't been there, have you?
No, I want to go. I really do actually want to go. Yeah, I just.
And for our listeners, they should know, as a lifelong Bears fan that you are, you had so much disdain for the Green Bay Packers because they have absolutely dominated your Bears over the course of Aaron Rodgers' career.
Who said I was a Bears fan? I'm not a Bears fan.
Oh, no, I'm telling everyone. I'm for those that don't know, because I'd like to think I know Jonas decently well. Jonas grew up a Bears fan, had family in Illinois, huge Bears fan going back in the day. He used to dress up like Jim McMahon when he was a young child. So that's where his heart is. Do not let him try to sell you anything else.
Listen, shout out to family listening in Galesburg, Illinois, on the western part of the state, Brady Quinn, Monmouth, Illinois, to be specific, but near Galesburg. A little shout out to the look, you're not really a Midwest guy. You're more of a Miami Beach type guy. I got family in the Midwest. That's where I come from. You're more of a Miami to L.A., skip the flyover states, not really all about all that.
Not from the heart of Ohio. Not from there. Didn't go to school at Notre Dame in Indiana. Yep.
Yeah,
nope.
Notre Dame of Sherman Oaks, California. I mean, that's, of course.
You don't have a winter jacket, do you? You don't even have a winter jacket.
First of all, don't you insult me with winter jackets, all right? I am Mr. Jacket. Everybody's got something that they probably spend too much money on, and for me, it's jackets, all right? You remember that slick little getup I was wearing when we went out to dinner in Miami because I forgot my luggage in the airplane? You remember all that stuff. Slick little
I do remember
you.
This is for Super Bowl, by the way.
Yes.
Jonas, did you got your luggage lost, right? Which is
it was gone.
Was it a direct flight?
Yeah.
Yeah. Explain that to me. How hard it is to say, okay, this bag goes on that plane. That plane's going A to B.
Okay,
the bag should be there. But
right,
I digress. I don't remember the jacket. I just remember that pilot who was drunk telling us he had flown a few planes drunk as well. That was the only thing I really remember from that particular night.
Yeah, that was a legitimate pilot in Miami that we met who was a full-blown alcoholic. I mean, probably brushes his teeth with Jack Daniels. I mean, a full-blown alcoholic. And admitted to us that he flies and had flown planes while hungover and with still booze in his system. True story. Not retired now. I mean, he's retired now, and now he just spends his days, mainlining moonshine in downtown Miami.
Yeah.
But
the best thing about that trip was you had to take a flight all the way back across the country. Meanwhile, I just drove home. So
yeah, thank you. We appreciate it. There he is, Brady Quinn. He's always thinking about others. Good man, that Brady Quinn. All right, so let's talk about others. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. What the hell's happening here? What's really happening here?
When you listen to what he said, right, when he's talking about character, it's about culture, it's about the people. That's true. But I still listen to when he goes, but then I threw a wrench into it.
Yeah.
And wrench into what? Well, their plan obviously was drafting Jordan Love, trading up to take him, probably higher than they needed to, and then eventually segueing to Jordan Love. But now he's saying I threw a wrench into it. So he can't say it's not about that draft pick, because in essence it was. And no matter what he wants to say, if they didn't trade up to take Jordan Love, he probably doesn't have an issue with the team. He might be frustrated that they haven't provided him more help at wide receiver, or they haven't been able to get past the NFC Championship game. But the truth of the matter is, we aren't having this conversation if they didn't draft Jordan Love. And so two things can be true. You can love Jordan Love, who he is as a person, helping as a player, all that stuff. But you can also recognize that singular move by the organization was a mistake and is what created this separation now, or this fracture in their relationship with where they're at. So you can't say it's not about drafting of Jordan Love, because ultimately it is. And that's why we're at this point. Now, does him becoming the MVP, does it make it harder for the team to move on? Of course. I mean, if he had a so-so year or got injured, missed time, it would have been a much easier transition. None of that happened. And so now they're going to have to live with this for another year, until next year, where they're probably going to end up going their separate ways. But I have a hard time believing he's going anywhere else. I think the best thing they could do is get someone like Julio Jones for him. And if this is going to be the last year, you redo his contract. All right, you do right by him by redoing his contract to make him happy. And so that way, when he is, when they do move on from somewhere else, he's going to at least be happy with the contract he has, and get him a wide receiver to throw to. Because, by the way, that Julio Jones, a wide receiver to throw to, next to Devontae Adams and Amari Rodgers, who they drafted in this year's draft, that's going to benefit them now with Rodgers, but even more so, too, when they transition to Jordan Love in the future. So it would make some sense from that standpoint. And obviously, this is a team that's a contending team, so it might be a place that Julio Jones would want to go, thinking he's at least playing with Aaron Rodgers for 1 year.
You've been consistent about this. You think that the plan has been, just based contractually and where they're at financially, that Aaron Rodgers, their plan was to move on from Aaron Rodgers after this upcoming season. That's when it would make the most sense.
There was no way he was going to be there after this upcoming season, if not before this season, depending on how this past year went. Once they drafted and traded up, mind you, because here's the other thing that you have to kind of dig into to understand this. It's all about perspective. And so when you're sitting there and you fall to a team like Aaron Rodgers did back when they had Brett Favre, it's a bit more understandable, right? Like, it was like, well, he fell to us, and he's such a good player, we couldn't pass up on that opportunity.
Right.
This is different, right? Because now Aaron's going through it similar to what Brett went through, but the difference in this case is the team was proactive about it. They traded up to take a guy that, in some people's opinion, wasn't going to be drafted in the first round. And so not only did they give something up in exchange for it, they were proactive, they made it happen, and they never made him aware. And I know there's a lot of listeners who are like, who cares? Why does he have to know, or why should they give him the heads up about it? Well, I don't know. Every single other organization seems to do it. The Bears did it with Andy Dalton when they took Justin Fields.
But then we're talking about Andy Dalton. You can't even put Aaron Rodgers in the same on the same category as Andy Dalton, Brady Quinn. How dare you?
I'm just saying for every single quarterback that we've seen, they're all like, oh yeah, no, they're on the same page. They kind of talked to him about it. So I think that the way they went about handling the drafting of Jordan Love is why we're where we are. That's the character, culture, the people. Yeah, the organization's built on the great players and the people, but the character and culture of it and how they went about handling that's why we're at where we're at. So, again, I think he's going to be on the roster. I think at a minimum they try to redo his contract, and, at some point this summer they'll try to redo it, and then maybe they make another addition to the roster. But the contract to me is more likely than them landing Julio Jones. Like, I think the Packers are potentially in play. We can talk about this later on. But the Patriots make the most sense there for Julio, at least in my opinion, even though they're not as much of a contender anymore compared to what they used to be. But that's a big-time need for the Patriots. So,
and you mentioned letting the quarterback know if you're going to draft another quarterback. Even the Eagles let Carson Wentz know they were going to be taking Jalen Hurts in the second round, and Carson Wentz proceeded to go out and grow a zit the size of a volleyball on the back of his neck. So, I mean, there's certain ways that you can handle this, Brady Quinn, and I just think Carson Wentz didn't maybe handle it the best way possible.
I thought they called it Mount Kilimanjaro. I thought that's actually what they called it.
Yeah, whatever it was. Just very bizarre. I don't know why you keep bringing that up. I don't know why you continue to go back to the acne Carson Wentz had on the back of his neck.
I mean, that was directly your comment that you just made.
Very insulting. But here's okay. So if the plan is if Aaron Rodgers isn't saying a damn thing, they're going to move on from him after this season. So why would the Packers, if they've already got a plan in place, if they haven't tried to restructure the deal, or if they did but now it's too late to do so? Why would the Packers hold on to him if it looks like this is just going to be an ugly situation? Because when he shows up for how this is going to work. He's going to show up for training camp or whenever he decides to come out, and people are trying to say, oh, well, he didn't show up to OTAs. Who cares? But when he shows up officially to the team, every single question is going to be about what's going on with Aaron Rodgers?
Right.
Where do you stand with the At some point, they got to figure out a way to either resolve this or just move on because maybe the damage is done. At some point soon.
No, I mean the damage is done. I don't think you can resolve it in the amount of time and in the way you'd like to, because who's going to trade the MVP, the reigning MVP of the league? I mean, how bad is that going to look?
Yeah.
And what happens if the best offer you get in a trade is a team in the same conference? Do you really want the potential, or in the division for that matter, do you really want the potential of having to face him again, especially in the playoffs, if you feel like the Packers could potentially be a playoff team with Jordan Love, which, by the way, they're not? Like, this team without Aaron Rodgers, maybe a decent roster, one of the top half of the league rosters, but with Rodgers, they make them a top 5 team. It's an entirely different conversation. But I do want to go back to something you said. It is significant he's not at the OTAs. And the reason being is he's never missed them before. He's never missed out on the $500,000 workout bonus that he's had in his contract, and is common for Packers players, right? They try to keep them up there during the offseason, during that period of time, because, it's Green Bay, Wisconsin. A lot of guys would rather go train somewhere else. But if you put in a workout bonus, one that's $500,000, guys will show up. It's kind of like the field of corn. The only difference is in that field of corn, there's $500,000. So yes, if you build it, they will come. So he's not showing up for that. He's going to sacrifice I assume at least, he's sacrificing his workout bonus for not showing up to the voluntary OTAs. However, there is a mandatory minicamp that comes up after those OTAs. Now, every team's a little bit different. They've all negotiated something different. But if that is, once that mandatory minicamp happens and he's not there, that's when you're saying to yourself, okay, like let's see what happens at training camp. But this has been a first already with him missing OTAs. He's potentially able to get fined for not showing up to a mandatory minicamp. And so that's going to be the next thing to keep an eye on. Middle of June, that's where you're going to have the mandatory minicamp. If he doesn't show up to that, it'll be interesting to see what the summer looks like.
Brady, Quinn, Jonas, Knox, in for Clay Travis. This is Outkick the coverage here on Fox Sports Radio. You can hang out with us, as always, on the iHeartRadio app. Coming up next here on FSR, there is a very bold move being made by one quarterback in the NFL. We'll have it for you next here. Outkick the coverage, Fox Sports Radio.